2009. Skip Schumacher settling in from the left side. Arroyo, the big high leg kick on the ground, and that's down the line, the base hit. Over to get it is Jay Bruce. Schumacher going to try for second, and he'll get in there with a double on the first pitch of the game, and this game underway. And not a good start right from the get-go for Bronson Arroyo.
You know, one thing we've noticed about the Cardinals and their leadoff men is that they do not wait around to get a walk. They're not the kind of leadoff guys to work the count, get 4 or 5 or 6 pitches in at bat. If Schumacher likes that first pitch, he's all over it, and he rips it right inside the first baseline for a leadoff double.
So now Colby Rasmus, who in the first inning of yesterday's game against Micah Owings clubbed his 9th home run of the year. And they're going to ask him to bunt this time in an effort by Hannigan that's a step short.
Well, not an easy thing for a catcher. First of all, you have to spot the ball and get out of that crouch quickly, and nobody hustles any more than Ryan Hannigan. Good effort back there by Hannigan, just not quite quick enough to be able to get there.
Cardinals trying to play for that early run, at least on the first pitch to Rasmus, asking him to bunt. Rasmus leads all National League rookies in home runs and RBIs and hits and extra base hits and right on down the line. And he bunts this one foul. He looks like a guy that's not done a lot of bunting. He has 4 of them this year. So it's not a bad number. Especially for a guy coming up through their minor league system as a #1 draft pick that is hit right in the heart of the order, no matter what level. Up and away, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Well, Tom, one reason why Tony La Russa is trying to steal that first run is you see the numbers on Albert Pujols. You get a runner on third with less than 2 outs, and he scored him about 60% of the time. Those are odds worth taking. That and the fact that the way Albert hits in his ballpark, Tony would like to have him, you know, up there at any point with a runner on base.
Hammered into right field, and it is gone. A double and a home run given up by Arroyo after 2 batters in the game. Boy, Arroyo has been hit so hard at times this season.
You know, I'm not really sure I understand this pitch. I know that they want to go inside to Colby Rasmus, but this kid's got such a quick bat. Arroyo's fastball simply is not one that he can throw on the inner part of the plate as a strike to a hitter like Rasmus. I mean, you're much better off trying to go with the slow stuff away, and it's just a shame you get a kid who looks so horrible trying to get his job done as a bunt, and he let him take you deep for a 2-0 lead.
5 pitches into the game. Arroyo is down 2-0. Boy, in the first inning, he has been lit up. He's allowed at least 1 run in the first inning of now 9 of his 17 starts, including 7 of his last 9. In the air, straight away center field, easy for Taveras. 1 away. And now all of a sudden, one of the elite pitchers, not just in the National League, but in all the baseball, Chris Carpenter, before he ever throws a pitch at the very minimum, will be in front 2-0.
Yeah, there's a handful of pitchers out there, Tom, that you make that you make a list of. You say, well, don't give this guy, you know, 2 or 3 runs with which to work. And obviously Carpenter's one of those. After them, the Cardinals, that is, losing the last couple of games he's pitched, you know he's going to have a renewed vigor out there this afternoon.
Broken bat roller by Ludwig. And Encarnacion throws off target, but able to put the tag on his Votto, and there are 2 away in the inning. Strike 1 to Rick Ankiel. Ankiel checks in at just 225, 5 home runs and 21 runs batted in. Well, you wonder where in the world the Cardinals would be right now without Colby Rasmus. Two guys they are really counting on when this season began. Keel and Ludwig have had major offensive struggles outside of Ludwig's month of April. I mean, Ludwig looked like the second best player in the league through the first month of the year, behind only his teammate Albert Pujols. Here's a fly ball into left center, and Tavares will get there, but damage done. A double, a home run, and St. Louis leads Arroyo and the Reds 2-0. In Dusty Baker's starting lineup reads as follows: Chris Dickerson in left, Willie Tavares in center, Joey Votto at first, Brandon Phillips a cleanup hitter at second, Jay Bruce in right, Edwin Encarnacion at third, a ladder third of Jerry Hairston Jr., Ryan Hannigan, and Bronson Arroyo. And again, they'll face right-hander Chris Carpenter. Began the year on the disabled list, making his 12th start a 5-3 record.
Well, his first 6 starts when he did come off the disabled list were some kind of great pitching. A 0.7 earned run average. And you'll see a whole bunch of ground balls coming off the bats of Reds as he is on his normal power sinking fastball game. Against the Reds overall, Carpenter has had 10 starts with a 4-3 record. He beat the Reds and Aaron Harang back on June the 4th with a 3-hit complete game. That is his second consecutive complete game against the Reds. Of course, the firepower in that ball game provided by Albert Pujols on a 2-run homer against the Reds ace.
One pitch and one out for Carpenter, and now Willie Tavares. He has had an excellent homestand and an extremely good series.
I'll tell you what, they're taking no chances now this time with Willie Tavares up. Joe Thurston a good 10 to 15 feet in front of third base, just daring Tavares to lay a bunt down.
So Willie, 5 hits in the 2-game series so far. He's been on base 6 times. 2 hits and a walk in the opener. 3 hits in the game here yesterday. Off the mound, a high hop for the second baseman Schumacher. 4 pitches and 2 outs for Carpenter. St. Louis defensively brought to you by Ford. Rasmus flanked by Keel and Ludwig. Schumacher and Ryan up the middle. Thurston and Pujols on the corner. Carpenter and Molina the batter. Now Joey Votto. 10 home runs, 41 knocked in for Votto to go along with that sparkling .366 batting average. One and one to Joey Votto. Two and one to Votto. Since coming off the disabled list, Votto, a .391 batter in 11 games, has 18 hits in 46 at bats. 2-2 to Joey. Of course, very shortly we'll receive the final word on the All-Star teams. They're being announced this afternoon for both the National and American League clubs. It'll play a week from Tuesday in St. Louis. Fouled off to the third base side out of play, and certainly an argument can be made for a number of Reds. Oh, you get into the whole thing about A, every team being represented. B, do the quote-unquote power clubs deserve to have more players in a team a game over 500? There's strike 3 to Votto, and a 1-2-3 opening inning for Carpenter. End of 1. The Cardinals in front 2-0. Today's storylines brought to you by Elk & Elk, serious lawyers for serious injuries. Last 4 games, the Reds have gotten dynamite starting pitching. Look at that ERA, right at 2. But so far today, Bronson Arroyo gave up a 2-run home run in the very first inning to Colby Rasmus, and that's where we stand as we begin the second with Yadier Molina. Breaking ball in there, strike, nothing, and 2 to the St. Louis catcher. He'll be followed by Joe Thurston and then the pitcher Chris Carpenter. Thurston will throw out Molina to begin the St. Louis second. Well, when the Reds get it done with an RBI this year, that means another $25 from Shakely goes to the Reds Community Fund. All the great work they do. Shakely, it's done. Lights have been turned on this cloudy Sunday afternoon in Cincinnati. Although things have certainly gotten brighter and brighter as the day goes on. That's what we were told would happen by those that tell you seemingly morning, noon, and night what the weather will be like. There's a pop-up to the right side of the infield. Easy for Brandon Phillips, 2 gone. Cardinals have an off day tomorrow. And then what a week they have leading up to the All-Star break. They'll play Milwaukee in a series at Miller Park. And then play 4 games in 3 days at Wrigley Field in Chicago. Now with this upcoming week, you know about the Reds. They go to Philadelphia to start the first of 4 tomorrow night. Johnny Cueto against Cole Hamels in the opener tomorrow. And then 3 over the weekend against the New York Mets. The Cubbies will start a 3-game series against Atlanta beginning tomorrow in Chicago. We'll keep an eye on everything going on in the National League Central leading up to the All-Star break. Breaking ball is in there, and of course every game on this upcoming road trip. Chris, you will be back with your main man George Graham starting tomorrow.
We'll bring them all to you.
You'll look at the National League Central Division standings presented by Honda. The Reds with that win yesterday, a game over 500, 2 back. And Carpenter gone swinging in a 1-2-3 second for Arroyo. Phillips, Bruce, Encarnacion coming up with the Reds down by a pair. On Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. For a dealer near you, visit buyatoyota.com. By JTM, food, family, fun, JTM. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by Jeep, it's a new day. Have fun out there, Jeep. Bottom of the second inning, the Reds down 2-0, and Brandon Phillips looks at a strike from Chris Carpenter to start it. Well, as soon as the All-Star teams are announced officially, we will certainly pass along right away what Reds made it. We do know that Albert Pujols was the leading vote getter among all National League players, so he will start, and we know that Cardinal catcher Yadier Molina will be in the starting lineup for the National League. And of course they'll be playing on their home ballpark, Busch Stadium, a game that you can watch on the Fox network a week from this Tuesday night at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. Oh, and 2 to Brandon Phillips. A ball and 2 strikes. Phillips, I'm sure, anxiously waiting to find out whether or not he was selected. We know Chase Utley won the voting at the second base position. There's a swing and a miss on a nasty breaking ball. Phillips said he got a piece of it, and not buying it is home plate umpire Jim Wolf. Time for our Geico quote of the game. It comes from Reds manager Dusty Baker about this run between now and the All-Star break.
This is like the end of the first half of a basketball game, which I talked to my players about, and started the third quarter. And you can hit a couple three-pointers and steal an inlet pass and have a layup, and next thing you know, you could be in first place in no time. And so you got to play through the break and not to the break.
You know, I think, Tom, with Dusty Baker, it's a constant trying to keep his team focused, keep him built up. This is a young team for the most part. Those guys that have been around here for any years at all know that there has not been a large measure of success with the Reds. They've struggled over the years. And you got to keep telling these guys that they're in the race, that you just can't go out there and go through the motions. And every one of your games, every at-bat, every pitch you take, every pitch you throw is important. And it's very important, I think Dusty realizes the need for him to stay on top of them constantly to remind them of that. I mean, in the same way that other managers do in different ways. I mean, Tony La Russa does it, and he's had a reputation for doing it. He delegates a lot of that to his coaches. I mean, these guys are watching the game, and they're on it all the time, because if they don't, you won't be on his ball club for very long.
2-2 to Jay Bruce, and a breaking ball is just off the outside corner, maybe a little bit low, a full count.
Dusty has a situation where he's trying to teach young players like Jay Bruce and Edwin Encarnacion and Ryan Hannigan and these other young players how to play the game at the same time while making a team that can be a contender.
Schumacher to his right will throw out Bruce. 5 in a row set down now by Carpenter. Let's take a look at the National League starters for the All-Star game. Ryan Braun from Milwaukee. Now, Carlos Beltran is on the disabled list with the Mets, as is Raul Ibanez of the Phillies. David Wright, Hanley Ramirez, Chase Utley, Albert Pujols third to first, and we mentioned Molina the catcher. Ball one, Edwin Encarnacion. Edwin only 68 at bats, just activated off the disabled list 2 days ago. As a home run, 6 runs batted in. His lone hit in this series came in his first at bat of this series, when he had a double in the 9th inning. This one on the ground to Brendan Ryan, and Carpenter, like the first, a perfect second. End of 2. Cardinals 2, Reds nothing. Tundra, if a Reds player hits a Tundra sign in left center or the one in right center today, Robert Berkeley of Cincinnati will win that Tundra. Register for your chance to win during an upcoming game at your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. Cardinals 2, Reds nothing. We begin the 3rd inning. Bronson Arroyo is in his 2-0 hole after having thrown 5 pitches in the game. A leadoff double on the first pitch of the game by Schumacher. And then after they were asking Rasmus to bunt, in which he fouled off 2 pitches. They took the bunt off with 2 strikes, and he hammered one of the seats in right field. Weak pop up to the right side, backing up Brandon Phillips to the grass, 1 away. Seven in a row retired by Arroyo since a home run by Rasmus, and back to the top of the order we go to Skip Schumacher. We mentioned he doubled leading off the game. Strike 1. Hit hard to straightaway center field, but Tavera is right there, and there are 2 away in the Cardinal third. Well, we brought it up on Friday night about being miffed that Colby Rasmus was not in the St. Louis starting lineup for the opening game of this series, especially the way he has played so far this year. They remember they had Chris Duncan in left with Keel in center and Ludwig in right. There's a 2-hopper to Votto, and Arroyo with back-to-back perfect innings. Reds come to bat in the third against Carpenter, trailing 2-0. Well, next week, watch the Reds on Fox Sports Ohio for the Kentucky Speedway Think Big Sweepstakes keyword. You can win tickets to the Built Ford Tough 225 at the Kentucky Speedway. Watch the Reds and you can be a winner. Reds down 2-0 as they bat against Chris Carpenter, still in search of their first base runner against this talented Cardinal right-hander. 0-1 to Jerry Hairston Jr. Bouncing ball, and that's into center field. So that is a base hit for Jerry Hairston Jr.
You know, you live by the ground ball, you die by the ground ball, but they'll take their chances in St. Louis. They play the shortstop quite a bit around towards the third base, trying to cover that 5.5 hole, and they leave the middle open an awful lot, because the tendency against so many of these Cardinal starters is to get on top of that sinking fastball, roll your wrists over the top of it, and pull it more to the left side. So Jerry Hairston beat the defense that time by keeping it up the middle.
Now Ryan Hannigan, what an outstanding year he is having, in more than just limited playing time. Well, the injury to Joey Votto. Ramon Hernandez, of course, to play a lot of first base. And Hannigan got starts regularly behind the plate. Look at that batting average, .336. You know, we were talking before the ball game, Yadier Molina, the leading vote getter, will start for the National League All-Star team behind the plate. We know about Molina. He's been so good through the years, especially on defense. But 25 RBIs playing just about every day. The Reds duo behind the plate of Hannigan and Hernandez have knocked in 44 runs so far this season.
Of course, the other catcher for the Cardinals is Jason LaRue. He has all but 3 runs batted in. So overall, offensively anyway, the Reds catching core, you can say, has been much better offensively this year than the Cardinals catching core, even though the Cardinal main guy is Yadi Molina going to the All-Star game.
And I misspoke there. I said 44. It's 41 RBIs from a duo of Hernandez and Hannigan. 33 for Ramon. 8 runs batted in for Ryan Hannigan.
Well, Dusty Baker has some options right here. You know, Ryan Hannigan is a very good contact hitter. He walks more than he strikes out. And Carpenter's got a strikeout pitch. Obviously, he struck out a couple already in this ball game. But you may want to put the runner in motion right here, because if Carpenter makes the pitch that he wants, he'll get a ground ball out of Ryan Hannigan. And you've got a chance for a double play ball. He doesn't give you many chances to get back into it. Carpenter does. So when you do get a base runner to lead the inning off, you really have to take advantage.
2-2 on Ryan Hannigan. And Tony La Russa knows, with a guy like Hannigan who puts a bat on the ball, always have to be wary of that hit and run. Still 2-2.
Hey, Reds fans, for great tasting food and family fun, pick up JTM Philly kits, burgers, or delicious barbecue from your favorite grocer. JTM Food, family fun.
We get a look at a couple of rookies having excellent years this year. Rasmus gets a lot more playing time, of course, than Hannigan. And there's a bleeder into right. And that's why, had you thought about the hit and run, Hannigan really, outside of Ramon Hernandez, is probably the best hit and run candidate that the Reds have, because of his ability to hit the ball the other way.
Well, he's a real throwback, Tom. He's a guy that just refuses to strike out. He cuts down on his swing. He spreads his stance with 2 strikes, and his whole approach is a little bit shorter. That's why he has so many more walks than he does strikeouts. He's got 21 walks and only 12 strikeouts on the season, and that's a kind of a ratio that you see out of a hitter like Albert Pujols. I'm not putting him in Pujols' category, but he has a great 2-strike approach. Now they're going to really crowd Arroyo, to figuring that the bunt's coming on.
And Arroyo lays it down perfectly, and that is 9 sacrifices on the year for Arroyo. And the runners have a pair in scoring position with 1 out.
Well, the Cardinals put the swing play on, which means you could be bunting right into a trap. Pujols is charging. Carpenter's charging. There's Joe Thurston, but because Thurston has to go a couple of steps to his left to get to that ball, I mean, that's about the best spot you could have put it anywhere on the field. If you're Bronson Arroyo, he does it on the first pitch and really helps himself right there. The tying run's now in scoring position.
Alrighty, let's see if the Reds can get on the board and break through against Carpenter. The Cardinals infield conceding the run. Or at least they are up the middle. Anything hit sharply right at Pujols, he's an extremely aggressive defender, will come to the plate if he thinks he has a shot. And that's where Dickerson grounded out, leading off the game. Breaking ball away, 1 ball and 1 strike. Down and in, 2-1.
Chris Dickerson is one of those left-handed hitters that gets right up on the dish. He almost challenges you as a pitcher to come on inside with it. And when he struggles with breaking balls inside that kind of tie him up. In fact, he ties himself up with those. Carpenter likes to get in there on those left-handers.
2-1. They set up in again. A check, swing and a miss. This is an area we have talked about it time and time and time again, where the Reds on this homestand 7 times have had a runner at third and less than 2 men out and failed to get the run in. They've converted twice, but 7 times they have been unable to do it. And now to 2-2. Barely making contact on a breaking ball, but contact nonetheless to stay alive in the at-bat is Dickerson.
Now, what you protect against right here when you're Chris Dickerson is a strikeout. I mean, if you put the ball in play and you hit a shot right at Albert Pujols and he keeps the run from scoring, that's one thing. But you really can't go down swinging. You've got to shorten your approach to the point where you know you can make contact.
2-2 again. And it's popped up and they'll fail again.
Came right into Kitchen.
Boy, it has been hard to watch. As well as the Reds have played, they have just struggled so badly in situational hitting. When this series began, they were the 4th worst team in the league at getting a runner in from third with less than 2 men out. And I guarantee you they've moved up the totem pole in this series. We're on this homestand.
Or down the totem pole.
Yeah. Well, now Willie Taveras with runners at second and third and 2 outs, and he takes high, ball 1. Taveras hit the ball very hard, but a sharp one-hopper off the mound that ricocheted to Schumacher, who threw him out in the first inning. Good hitters count here for Willie Taveras at 2 balls and a strike, trying to get the Reds on the board. They're going to need a 2-out hit to do it. And a little roller back in front of the plate, falling down Carpenter, and still makes the throw to end the inning. A golden chance, a missed chance for the Reds. trivia question today on this Sunday afternoon. Who holds the Reds record for grand slams? That is career record.
You know, I don't know if this guy holds a record, Tom, but it seems growing up, listening to the radio, watching the Reds, that every time the bases are loaded, it seems like Lee May, the big bopper from Birmingham, would jack one out of the yard for a grand slam.
Really?
Yeah. That's just my childhood recollection.
So is that your guess, even though he was traded away, of course, right in his prime of his career?
Yeah, I don't think he spent enough years as a Red to establish that record, but childhood recollections die hard.
I'm going to go with Johnny Bench. If for no other reason, he spent his entire career here, and he's still the all-time franchise leader in home runs. So, I mean, that's just a logical guess.
Good front-runner guess.
It is. Number 5, Johnny Lee Bench. Got him up here in the booth the other night. Here's another number 5 that ain't too shabby either. That would be Mr. Poole. It's a base hit into left field to lead off the Cardinal 4th inning. The Reds had runners at 2nd and 3rd with only 1 out and could not dent the plate against Chris Carpenter in the 3rd. The baseball's biggest stars go head-to-head. One spectacular night coming up. Fox brings you every thrilling moment of the 2009 All-Star Game. Coverage Tuesday, July the 14th from St. Louis. 8 Eastern, 7 Central, only on Fox. Now, Mr. Welsh, the All-Star break, I know it's still a week away at the conclusion of play 1 week from today. Are you making your way to St. Louis for the All-Star Game?
No, I have not been to an All-Star game ever. Well, actually, that's wrong. I did go to an All-Star game when it was at the old Riverfront Stadium, the Morgana All-Star game. But I've not been to one since becoming a broadcaster, and it's more or less 3 days of family time.
Good for you.
Yourself, do you have any official duty during the All-Star game?
No, none whatsoever. I didn't mean to glaze over you talking about your lone All-Star Game experience, but did you say the Morgana All-Star Game? The kissing bandit Morgana?
Yeah. When she jumped the fence, she ran right down the aisle next to where my dad and I were sitting, and she jumped the fence onto the field and ran over to kiss Johnny Bench.
Now, was that in 1970? That's when they played the All-Star Game, I know, and then they played another one in 1988.
That was 1970.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was at the one in 88. Sat down to third base line, and sitting in front of me, the legendary broadcaster of the Oakland Athletics, Monty Moore.
Wow.
Yeah. Had a great time. Two and two the count on Ryan Ludwig, a leadoff single by Pujols here in the 4th inning. That base hit, by the way, ends a string of 9 in a row set down by Arroyo. Since a 2-run home run in the 1st inning he allowed to Colby Rasmus. Two and two to Ludwig. Lined into center field, a base hit. Well, now the Cardinals have something working with the first 2 aboard to start the inning. Well, the starters have been announced, the reserves have been announced, and it's hard to believe. First of all, congratulations to Francisco Cordero. He's on his way to the All-Star Game. Only 1 blown save, that outstanding 1.80 ERA. He certainly deserves to be there, but a strong case could be made for a number of Reds players along with Cordero to be making that trip to St. Louis. You know, Joey Votto not missed the 30 games. I don't think there's any doubt that he would have been there. There's a high pop-up by Ankiel. Taveras will come in to get it, 1 away. I am stunned that Johnny Cueto is not there, and certainly a very strong argument can be made for Brandon Phillips. But every team has to be represented, and so it seems like, you know, any given year it'll be one position that kind of gets shortchanged. The backup to Chase Utley at second base is Freddie Sanchez of the Pirates. Sanchez is going to his third All-Star game.
Yeah.
He's been a nice player. One year won a batting title, but you know, it seems like Sanchez has been the lone Pirate represented outside of what, Nate McLouth last year to go to an All-Star game.
You know, I'm wondering, Tom, if in the selection of those non-starters, especially when it comes to the players you're going to fill out and the pitchers that are available, whether the nod would automatically go to a closer over a starter. For instance, Cordero over Cueto. Not to say one is more deserving than the other, because they both had great first halves of the season. But I mean, if you're trying to win the ball game, you would be more inclined to pull a closer in who's used to pitching one inning under pressure, and you'd like to have as many closers on your staff as possible, probably. And taking a look at the rest of the National League pitchers, it is loaded down with starters. And of course, remember that the Major League Baseball added one extra roster spot this year, and it goes to a pitcher to make sure that they don't run out of pitching like they have in years past.
Two on, one out for Yadier Molina, and a breaking ball is hammered into left field. Another hit and another run. 3-0 St. Louis on the single by Yadier Molina.
Well, Bronson Arroyo got Yadier Molina out on a curveball his first time up on an 0-2 count. This time he hung a breaking ball up high around the letters, and Molina's there to rip a line drive right by the third baseman. Up until that base hit by Molina, every hit that Arroyo has given up today has been off his fastball.
Still 2 on, 1 in, 1 out, and there's strike one to Joe Thurston. Pull to the right side. What a play by Phillips. Getting to it. That ball was stung by Thurston. They get the out at first. The runners advance. Ludwig on to third and Molina to second. 2 away in the inning.
Well, that saves a run right there, I can guarantee you, because if this ball gets by Brandon Phillips, it goes into right field, they would end up scoring a run there, and he grabs a run out of it and also is able to get a put out. Boy, that is some kind of slick glove work. We're so used to seeing it, too. It's a shame he did not make the All-Star team.
Now Carpenter, and a 2-out single to center field. Well, you got to really wonder about Bronson Arroyo. I mean, the numbers simply do not lie. You go back to the start of June, 5 runs in 5 1/3, had an excellent start against the Cubs. 5 innings, 6 earned runs against Kansas City. Gave up 2 runs, the only one game that he has won since May the 22nd in beating the White Sox. And in his last 2 games, 13 runs allowed and 4 more so far here today. Chris Carpenter getting his 3rd hit of the season. And that's his first RBI.
You know, it seems like Bronson Arroyo every year is a very streaky pitcher. He gets on a roll where he's lights out for several starts, maybe 6 to 10 starts, and then he goes through the doldrums of 9, 10, 11 starts where he really doesn't pitch all that that well. I mean, sometimes he pitches horribly, but for the most part, for instance, 2 years ago, I think he went 11 starts without winning a ball game. Last year, he went through a rough period as well in the middle of the season. And that's the thing that has kept him from being, you know, an above 500 pitcher, is that middle of the season stretch where he just isn't able to get it done every 5th day. And it's magnified in a game like this when it's a rubber game of a series and you're facing the Cardinals' best.
You know, we talked about it when we turned the calendar from June to the month of July, and the fact that when the Reds started July, they were 4 games out of first place, and they had gone through a month of June where they got 1 win combined from the 2 guys who they're really counting on this rotation, in Aaron Harang and Bronson Arroyo. It's not to say that there haven't been games, especially Harang, where he or they have pitched well enough to get a win and figured in a no decision or even a tough loss. But the bottom line is, again, the numbers do not lie. Arroyo and Harang in the month of June combined to win 1 game. Now, we don't have a crystal ball, but it's a pretty safe bet that if Harang and Arroyo win 1 game combined in the month of July, the Reds will not be 4 games out of first place. There's strike 3 called to end the inning. A 4-hit inning, a 2-run inning. Reds now down 4 after 3.5. Trivia question today: who holds the Reds record for career grand slams? Johnny Lee.
There you go.
11 of them. He's here at the ball game wearing his jersey and enjoying a nacho. Good to have Johnny in the ballpark. Adam Dunn and George Foster at 9. Derek Davis hit 7 in a very short amount of time before his career moved elsewhere. Three, 4, and 5 in the Reds batting order. Now they have lots of work to do against Carpenter. They're trailing 4-0. 2 in the first, 2 in the fourth for St. Louis. Votto looked at strike 3 his first time up. haven't heard anything today about whether there is still fan balloting which needs to take place to allow another player to make the All-Star game. They've had that in recent years. I don't know by expanding the roster whether they're doing that or not anymore. Remember how the fans would vote over about a 5 or 7 day time frame? Yeah. Two and two to Joey Votto.
If you look at the matchup report, the Reds hitters against Chris Carpenter, and we get this kind of information every day. You can look it up on the internet. And, I presume that it's probably like this for every team against Chris Carpenter, but there are a lot of batting average against the Cardinal pitcher this afternoon that begin with 1. And remarkably, Joey Votto has never faced Chris Carpenter yet. First time he has seen him.
Well, we understand there is one final spot to be determined by the fans, and I guess it goes until 4 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday at MLB.com. Not a Red is involved in the fan balloting for the final spot. 2-hopper down to Pujols, and there's 1 away. The National League nominees: Christian Guzman of the Nationals, Matt Kemp of the Dodgers, Pablo Sandoval of the Giants, Shane Victorino of the Phillies, and Mark Reynolds of the Arizona Diamondbacks. There's a guy it's hard to believe he's not on the team, Mark Reynolds. Now, Justin Upton, we understand, did make it from Arizona, and he's having a dynamite year. There's no debate about that. Brandon Phillips. You're wondering about the backup first baseman after Albert Pujols. Adrian Gonzalez, the second most home runs in the league with 24, will be on the All-Star team. Prince Fielder will be on the All-Star team. I don't know if Ryan Howard made it or not. Well, here they are. Ryan Howard will be there. And that's his hometown, St. Louis, Missouri. Hunter Pence of the Astros. Brad Hawpe, his first All-Star game. So too for Ryan Zimmerman. Miguel Tejada. Orlando Hudson, his first year as a Dodger, will be there. And Brian McCann, I think that's already 4 All-Star games, if I'm not mistaken, for Brian McCann. The best catcher, all-around catcher in the National League, undeniably. Check swing and a foul ball. Take a look at the pitchers on the National League squad. We talked about a lot of closers on there. Heath Bell, Jonathan Broxton, Francisco Cordero, Ryan Franklin of the Cardinals on the team. Francisco Rodriguez also there. Boy, that's a lot of pitchers.
Ted Lilly making the All-Star team is the only representative from the Chicago Cubs with that payroll.
It's hard to believe, isn't it?
I'm sure there's some Cubs fans who would agree with you there.
And I'm sure that they would agree that there's probably nobody else that deserves to be on that team from the Cubs team so far this year without their big run producer, Aramis Ramirez. Derek Lee got off to a terrible start. There's a one-out walk run by Phillips. Now Lee has been red hot for the better part of a month and a half. But boy, that first base position traditionally in both leagues is a power-packed position. That is the first walk of the afternoon given up by Carpenter. And now he'll face Jay Bruce with one on, and the Reds are trailing 4-0 in the fourth. Right down the middle of fastball, strike one.
You know, the thing that makes Chris Carpenter so difficult to gauge as a hitter, you know, other than the fact that he's got great control, is the fact that his fastball is fast enough to keep you honest. He can throw 92 to 94 sometimes, and he has two different varieties of breaking balls. And normally every game he's got both of those working. His curveball about 76 miles an hour and a slider about 88. That was the curveball right there. And that was designed to get Jay Bruce to do exactly what he did with it. If you throw that curveball slow and on the inside part of the plate, right in here, there's really not a whole lot that hitter is going to do in order to keep it fair. You know, you can move off the plate a few inches and try to help yourself that way, but boy, he is not afraid to come inside of those lefties.
Bruce had a pitch to hit right there.
Well, there's your heater at 94, though. So you go from 76 to 94, and that ball tailing away from you. So it looks like a pitch to hit when you're sitting on your living room couch and your big screen is there, and the ball looks as big as a beach ball. But when you're Jay Bruce at the plate, it looks more like a baby aspirin.
I never knew those things existed until I accidentally bought some about a month ago.
How'd they taste?
Those baby aspirin, have you seen those?
Oh, yeah.
Serious?
Yeah, of course.
No, I don't mean for children. I mean the ones they now have for adults.
Oh, no, I didn't know they had it.
People take regularly for, you know, they say that taking an aspirin or two every day is good for your heart. And now they make those in a miniature version. They look like really tiny little mints. I accidentally bought them the other day. I'd never seen her about a month ago. I'd never seen them before. Swing and a miss. Runner goes, and out at second is Phillips.
Oh, no.
Did not look like a good call by Field and Culver. Strike him out, throw him out, double play ends the inning. We have played 4, and the Cardinals lead by 4. With the AT&T Rapid Rewind. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. Fifth inning, and already batting for the third time is Cardinal leadoff man Skip Schumacher. 4 runs, 6 hits for St. Louis, and he has another hit. That's his second. Boy, he has hammered the ball 3 times. A double to right, a line out to center, and now a base hit to center to begin the 5th.
Well, Arroyo just seems to be getting the ball up to Schumacher in each of his 3 at-bats. Look where Hannigan wants it, down and away, and look where it is. I mean, waist high, outer third of the plate. That's a good hitting spot for just about anybody. You know, that's another one of those pitches that Arroyo over the last few starts has thrown in there at about 84 miles an hour. That is his dead fish, or his BP fastball. And, you know, I've made comments over the last few starts, Tom, about all the changeups he's thrown. I've never seen him go through a stretch where he's thrown so many changeups.
Into left center field. Taveras is not going to get there. And that'll be a ground rule double.
This ball hangs up for a long time, but coming off the bat of a left-hander, it's going to slice away. And Colby Rasmus has done some damage with the long ball today. That one bounces over the fence. He'll go to second base. The other runner will stay at third. And to go on top of his 2-run homer in the first inning, Rasmus, the rookie, is having a great day.
Intentional walk. You can understand that coming to Albert Pujols with first base open. And Arroyo in a pile of trouble here in the 5th. Cardinals are going to have the bases loaded, already leading 4-0 with nobody out. Well, the Reds have activity in their bullpen. The rookie right-hander Josh Renicky begins to crank it up. Here comes Ryan Ludwig. He grounded to third in the first inning and then singled to center and scored in the 4th. They are loaded with nobody out. St. Louis looking to add to a 4-0 lead. Arroyo will work out of the stretch. Hand delivers on the outside corner, but off of it apparently. Ball 1. I understand there are going to be a lot of fireworks, a lot of different places all over the tri-state area tonight. So many of the celebrations in various parts of town canceled last night due to all the rain. So it's going to feel like the 4th of July all over again in parts of our great city tonight. Fouled out of play, 1-2 to Ryan Ludwig.
Of course, the Reds, after the ball game this afternoon, hop on a plane. They head to the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. You'll be back home with Polly and the kids. You're going to head out and watch a few of the.
Got to find out where they are. Find out if anything's close. I know they were talking about cold rain. I think later tonight they have something going on over there. That one popped up down the right field line and foul ground, and that ball out of play. I know up in your old stomping ground many years ago, not far from it, Blue Ash, they had Huey Lewis and the News coming out there either last night or tonight.
Well, it was scheduled last night, and I think it probably went off as scheduled. My son was hoping to get up there, and I imagine that was kind of a muddy mess last night. Probably reminded some people of the good old days of Woodstock. Not that I'm drawing comparisons between Blue Ash and Max Yager's farm, or Yasgur's farm, but
people know what you're talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
Still 1-2 to Ludwig.
Squish your toes in the mud. Get that old home Americana feeling.
Well, your son was at something very much like that not too long ago.
Bonnaroo, down in Manchester, Tennessee, where they had something like 100 acts over 4 or 5 days down there. It was quite a place to be.
Two and two on Ludwig.
Next year, before we make the announcer schedule, maybe I'll take a look and see when Bonnaroo is. You and I can get a couple of days off.
Count me in.
Bring your sleeping bag and a tent, and we'll go for it.
On our way. 2 and 2 the count on Ryan Ludwig. And there's a tapper to third. Encarnacion, a nice play, and then throws it away. Here comes a second run, hustling all the way in to make it 6-0 from second is Rasmus. Encarnacion had a long way to go to get to that ball to his left. His momentum taking him toward the first base bag. And his throw sailed away from Hannigan.
Just so disappointing right here, because he makes a nice grab on the short hop pickup, throws off balance, and throws it way wide to the third base side of home plate. No way Hannigan's going to get that. A second run heads up comes in there, and things have fallen apart here for the Reds. Every time that, today anyway, that Edwin has handled the ball, he's thrown the ball wildly.
Boy, and how about the base running there by Colby Rasmus, the runner at second?
Never stopped at all.
He is a good-looking young player. At 22 years old, he is the youngest Cardinal to make an opening day roster since Albert Pujols in his rookie year. Brought up earlier, Rasmus did not start the first game of the series, but had 2 hits off the bench that night.
Well, if he makes that throw on the money, it's a heck of a play by Encarnacion. Changes the complexion of the inning entirely, but as it stands now with 2 more runs in, a 6-0 ball game for Chris Carpenter and the Cardinals.
And still nobody out. That ball scalded down the first base line, and hopefully everybody's all right. Fellow down there tried to put his glove up and was tardy. And thankfully, everybody appears to be all right. Oh, and 1 to Ankiel. And there's a fly ball that should bring in another run. It will. Pujols will tag. Dickerson will let it fly, but not going to be in time. Also tagging and going on to second from first is Ludwig. And it is 7-0 St. Louis. Sac fly RBI by Ankiel.
You know, not that it means anything at this point, but the way Chris Dickerson threw that ball, it's like he didn't have an idea of what he wanted to do. You're not going to throw a runner out at the plate right there, and even if he does, he doesn't even hit the cutoff man. So as soon as that was seen, Ryan Ludwig, as soon as he sees the trajectory of the ball going towards home, he heads off towards second base. I mean, in a tight ball game, and it's 7-0 now, so maybe it has no bearing on the outcome of the game. In a tight ball game, you've got to think ahead, saying, you know what, do I really have a chance of getting that runner? I mean, he's in medium, deep, maybe even deeper than that, straight away dead left field. You've got to throw that ball to second base to keep the double play in order. I guess those are the things that confront Dusty Baker on a daily basis when he tries to keep his team in contention and at the same time teach his young players the finer art of the things that win ball games.
I know, but I got to ask you, and you and I got into this a little bit yesterday when Jay Bruce missed a cutoff man, and it allowed the Cardinals to score a run. And because of that run scoring, it went from a 4-run game to a 3-run game. And then later in the game, Albert Pujols came to the plate representing the tying run. Now, I got to ask you. Chris Dickerson has played professional baseball for 6 years. Now, I know that's not Major League Baseball, but that is professional baseball for 6 years. Should that fall in Dusty Baker's lap that he doesn't know where to throw the ball?
No, it shouldn't. But I mean, at this point, it stops at Dusty Baker. I mean, there's no other way for him to to play the situation out is except have Billy Hatcher go to Chris Dickerson and say, hey, what were you thinking right there? Tell us why you threw the ball where you did. Next time, this is what you need to consider.
Line to the left. That'll be another base hit.
Boy, he's throwing batting practice now.
Well, Dusty apparently going to stay with him. 8 hits, 7 runs, and we're in the 5th inning.
Well, you remember that Dusty, the Reds, unlike the St. Louis Cardinals, don't have a day off tomorrow. They go to Philadelphia, play 4 games in a row in Philly, play 3 games in New York. So the last thing he wants to do is burn out his bullpen. I mean, if Bronson Arroyo is going to go out and get lit up the way he has today, Dusty Baker saying, you know what, I'm not going to make somebody else a sacrificial cow out there. You're going to be the guy to suck up all the earned runs and the innings, hopefully.
Joe Thurston to bat it. Thurston has popped to second and had a hit taken away on a diving play made by Brandon Phillips to his left an inning ago. Runners on the corners, 1 out. You know, one thing Arroyo, well, a number of things Arroyo has been. Obviously, he takes a ball every 5 days. I mean, you can't argue with the fact that since he came over in 2006, he leads all major league pitchers in starts. And he ranks 2nd in the National League in innings, 2nd only to his teammate Aaron Harang. So, you know, you start there, and the fact that he has been right around 500, a little bit better than 500 pitcher as a Red on teams that have been sub 500. That one lined into right center field. That'll be caught by Taveras, but because of the throw going in to the plate rather than to second base, Ludwig is able to score to make it 8-0. Arroyo has also been a stand-up guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's always there to answer the question when things are going good and when things are not going well. And he is aware more than anybody that right now, when you look at the 5-man rotation, he is the only one, quite honestly, that's not pulling his weight.
Well, we showed you the stat over the last 4 starts the Reds have had with their starting pitchers. And they've had a great run of starts by their last 4 starters, and they want Bronson Arroyo to join that party.
Cardinals tack on 4 and lead by 8. Perfect party atmosphere aboard the Cincinnati Bell Riverboat deck here at Great American Ballpark. I mean, beautiful views up there, located high above that center field wall. Make your plans today by calling the Reds Group Sales Department, 513-765-7600. You and I have been out there, Chris, many times. That is a great spot. You and George did a game out there.
Wonderful place to do a game. Great place to watch a ball game. I mean, it is really neat.
You know, where you guys set up that day, it's almost like they were trying to hide you.
Well,
I meant to bring that up.
Yeah, you know what? And I said the same thing because I wanted to be among the people, you know, kind of like Jim Day. But the problem, I think, were all the cables and the cameras that we had, and just people going back and forth. We were afraid somebody would trip and hurt themselves.
Strikeout of Encarnacion to begin the fifth. So you guys were tucked away back there in that corner.
Yeah, we were right here.
Yeah.
There was George and there was me. George is always smiling.
That was you exercising like that guy right up there, running back and forth in between innings. I saw you out there.
The only running I did up there was to that very nice buffet that John Burns provides for everybody up there at the Pilot House. I'm sure you have dug into that before.
Actually, I've not.
That is a surprise because you've missed out. You've been digging into that.
That is a big league company right here, though.
Yeah, it sure is. Sponsors, of course, of our baseball tech talk and many other things around the Reds ballpark here at Great American Park. You know, if you haven't been digging into that buffet up there at the CBTS Pilot House, I know you've been digging into that calzone provided by La Rosa's this afternoon to our crew.
Indeed.
They fed the crew the other night with a bunch of pizzas, and they bring up calzones today.
Very, very good. You're not missing any of it either.
Well, you know, it just doesn't taste as good, though, when you're down 8-0 as opposed to being up 8-0. But
can't argue with you there.
But you need your nourishment, so you got to put it away anyhow.
You do. You're right. Jerry Hairston Jr. has his second hit. Chris Carpenter out there on the mound hasn't bothered him today.
You know, Tom, I made the comment the first time he had that base hit up the middle that the Cardinals, against most right-handed hitters, they want to tuck that shortstop over a couple of steps towards third. And both times that Jerry Hairston's been up, he's hit the ball back up the middle. That time a slider. And you see the shortstop all the way over here. He's got to range all the way this way to try to get that ball. And Jerry Hairston's picked up his second hit. 2 of the 3 the Reds have collected on the afternoon.
The other one comes from this man, Ryan Hannigan. That's when the Reds had back-to-back hits by Hairston and Hannigan, down 2-0 in the bottom of the third. Bronson Arroyo moved each of them up a base with a sacrifice. But then Carpenter got down to business, getting Dickerson on a pop-up to short. And Taveras on a one-hopper back to the mat. 1-1 on Ryan Hannigan. What a pitching matchup tomorrow night, the opening game of that series with Philadelphia. Johnny Cueto for the Reds. Cole Hamels will start it for the Phils. Although Hamels not having nearly the kind of year this year that he had last year. In fact, as a team, Philadelphia has the second worst team ERA in the National League, second only to the Washington Nationals. There you get a look at the matchups for the entire series. Should be a double play ball here. There's one, and that's a double play to end the inning. 1 hit, nobody left. We played 5. Cardinals lead 8-0. Fireworks Friday. Boy, if you weren't here last Friday, what a display they put on. The next one is coming up Friday, July the 17th for the Braves and the Reds and the Brewers, presented by Banquet. 513-381-REDS, or go to reds.com. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's the 4th of July weekend, as we had 2 nights ago here after the game on Friday night, or a Friday night in May, or a Friday night in July or August. The fireworks show they put on after the ball games on Friday nights, I'm not sure you're going to find a better fireworks display outside, of course, of the EBN Cincinnati Bell fireworks anywhere. Yeah, you're right. Now, everywhere we go, it seems like Friday night is a very popular firework night. We stay around for some of those and watch them. They don't compare to what goes on here at Great America. They really don't. We had some family and friends in from Chicago here the other night, and they were just stunned at how long, and well, we know how great they're going to be because they're getting warmed up for the big Labor Day fireworks show. Our friends over at WEBN. Now, when you were a kid, Creeper, of course, when you were a kid, I don't even know if fireworks were yet invented, or at least certainly not perfected, but the EBN fireworks had not really taken off yet when you were in high school, right? No, actually, EBN was just coming into its own back in the early days of jelly pudding. Nice. Now, with the Rossi fireworks, though, they've been around a long time. We had an across-the-street neighbor, the Martins. Clyde Martin used to go up there and take us with him. Go up to see the Rossi farm where they made all the fireworks. And he had a sign a sheet, I think, that made him promise that he wouldn't shoot the fireworks off in the county of Hamilton. I think that's what it said. Of course, it was filled with hundreds of other people from Hamilton County that signed and attested to the same thing. But he'd buy a bunch of them and let them off in the street, and that was our 4th of July holiday. Fireworks here for the Cardinals today. Actually, the best thing that he did, Tom, he had a big, heavy gauge metal pipe. It's about 2 or 3 feet long, and he bought a box of orange rubber balls, just the old-fashioned squeezy rubber balls, and they were bright fluorescent orange. And he used to stick a very powerful firecracker, like a silver salute, underneath the bottom of this pipe and put the ball on top, and he'd let that thing off, and it would shoot the ball, I don't know, it seemed like 1,000 feet in the air, and we'd all stand around with baseball gloves trying to catch it on the way down. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm thinking 5 years no one ever caught one, because it would come out of nowhere. Looked like underdog streaking towards Earth. There is a strike. You know, Mark Wagner points out for us here in the broadcast booth that Rossi fireworks are recognized in the fireworks industry as creators of some of the most prestigious displays nationwide. And they actually lit up the Boston skyline with a mix of music and shells for the 4th of July yesterday that was presented nationally on television in conjunction with the Boston Pops. So how about that? Wow. National love for Rossi. Off the glove of Votto into right field. That'll be another hit. That's 11 of them. Boy, they're just simply teeing off on Bronson this afternoon. Yeah, he came out in the paper, Tom, before his last start against the Arizona Diamondbacks and said that his carpal tunnel syndrome has bothered him nearly all year long. It's been bothering him for several years now. And then he also said that they were considering surgery on that wrist at the end of the season. You got to wonder, with the way he's thrown his last 3 starts, whether he's going to last that long. Ball 1 to Colby Rasmus. He started the Cardinals scoring in the very first inning with a 2-run home run to right field. And of course, that was after he had fouled away a couple of bunt attempts. He since bounced to first and doubled. 2-0. Obviously, the Reds are aware that Arroyo has been bothered by that situation, Chris, that you're talking about. But, you know, it really puts an organization in, I'm not going to say an uncomfortable situation, but it certainly is not an ideal situation when a player has an injury, that he talks about that injury to the media, but he stays on the active roster and goes out and does his thing, in Arroyo's case, every 5 days. And let's be honest about it, ever since he talked about it, I mean, Arroyo has not had a good start. And so the organization is left in a situation where you're getting asked then by the press every single day, is Arroyo all right? Is Arroyo all right? Is Arroyo all right? You keep saying yes because he tells you yes, but then the results are what they've been here now for 3 starts in a row.
You know, it reminds me of the situation the Reds had several years ago when Paul Wilson was in the starting rotation, and he went out there time after time and simply got lit up start after start after start. And he finally, after about 8 or 9 starts, said, you know what, my shoulder's been hurting all along. I just have kept it a secret. I wanted to show up for the team and show everybody that, you know, I can pitch through it. Where in reality, what he was doing, he was hurting the ball club because he was not giving them a chance to win. I'm not saying that's the case with Bronson Arroyo. Normally, they have all the medical explanations, all those guys on the
Couple of changes for the Reds. They will bring on Drew Sutton. First time he's been in the field defensively since being brought up from the minor leagues. And now taking over as part of a double switch on the mound. Another rookie, this one a right-hander, Josh Renicky.
Now, Josh, the good news is you get to pitch in the ball game this afternoon, your 5th appearance of the season. The bad news is you got bases loaded, nobody out, and Albert Pujols at the plate.
Chris Albert had the grand slam here on Friday night, which gave St. Louis a very brief 4-3 lead before the Reds tied the game in the bottom of the 8th inning. But it looked like the game the Reds were going to nail down. They were only 5 outs away from doing just that with a 3-0 lead, and wound up losing that game in the ninth. 7-4. Now they're loaded for Pujols. He has 4 grand slams this year already. And here we are on the 5th of July. Got tied up with a fastball up and in. Firestone presents our Major League Baseball home run leaders, and Mr. Pujols, number 1. There's one out. There's two out. How about that? Good for Mr. Renicky.
Boy, couldn't do it any better than that. To Josh Renicky, fields it very nicely, comes very controlled to home plate, and an easy 1-2-3 double play. Nice going.
It was interesting watching Pujols go back to the dugout there after he had bounced into the double play. He got about 10 steps from the Cardinal dugout, and the bat boy who picked up his bat was walking alongside him, holding the bat. Pujols said, "Let me have the bat." He gave him the bat, and Pujols himself took it back to the bat rack along with his helmet to put it away.
He takes care of his bats. You know, was in the Cardinal clubhouse yesterday, going in to actually talk to Albert about a couple of things, and he's got about 4 different bats sitting right up against his locker. It's like he doesn't want to commingle them with the common man bats.
Would you?
No. Actually, they reminded me more of samurai swords than they did baseball bats when he leaned above.
Well, you told him that, right?
I told him that because he was up in the on-deck circle the other night just prior to hitting that grand slam. He was kind of dusting off the handle, and he was kind of running his hand along the length of the bat. I thought, you know, it reminds me of, you know, a Shogun movie, or the old movie The Seven Samurai. So that's might be a pretty good analogy. He thought that was funny.
Two and two on Ryan Ludwick. Did you tell him you do that with your microphone before every game?
No, I don't, but that's a good thought.
We ought to have a sword taken to that microphone. That's what we should have. That thing is tired.
Now that's the Lou Gehrig bat that made the rounds in the Reds clubhouse, and boy, that was something special. John Browdy brought it in, given to his uncle, Ira Katz, by Lou Gehrig himself, along with a note, a picture inscribed and signed by him. And boy, the guys were just fascinated to have that in their hands. It was just amazing.
Sutton throws wide of the bag, but Votto there for the tag. And what a job by Renicky. Came in, bases loaded, nobody out against Pujols, and does not allow St. Louis to score. Sixth inning. And time for the Coors Light freeze cam. We thought Brandon Phillips was safe on that stolen base attempt back in the 4th inning. And take a look at this third angle. Close play. The The Coors Light Freeze Can brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Reds bat in the bottom of the 6th inning, trailing Chris Carpenter and the Cardinals 8-0. Drew Sutton bats for the first time, and he's quickly behind 0-2. Good work by Renicky. Real good. No, that's not even right. That is great work by Renicky. Coming with nobody out and the bases loaded and facing the best hitter in the game. You get a 1-2-3 double play ball, then did a ground out from the following hitter. No run scored. That's great work. So you look up and down this Reds major league roster, and then you look at what some of their highly touted prospects are doing in the minor leagues. That ball hammered down the right field line by Sutton and hooking foul. And you got to be very encouraged when looking down the road. And of course, you know, we're talking about, good Lord willing, good health for all these guys. But whether you're talking about Cueto, Edinson Volquez coming back, Homer Bailey in the starting rotation, Micah Owings is still a very young pitcher. You go down into the Reds bullpen. Carlos Fisher, a rookie. Danny Herrera, a rookie. Nick Massett, still very young. Josh Renicky. Travis Wood in the minor leagues having a spectacular year so far at 3 levels. The same for Zach Stewart. And that's just to mention, you know, a couple of guys in the minor leagues off the top of your head. We're talking about starting pitchers with ERAs in the 1s. Not the 2.5 or 3.5 range. We're talking 1. High fly ball straight away center. Rasmus at the track, 1 away. Tonight's Mega $1 Million jackpot stands at $133 million.
You know, Tom, you make a good point. You made a pretty good and impressive list of all those young players, and I think you left off quite a few, obviously, especially position players down in the minor leagues. But I'll never forget that Jerry Narron, when he was managing here a few years ago, a lot of people ridiculed him for this comment, but he said, he was asked one day, when are the Reds going to be good? He said the Reds will be good when Homer Bailey is a bona fide starter in the starting rotation. Because he knew that there were some players coming along, and he knew that there wasn't enough at the big league level at that time really to compete. And Homer was pushed up, you know, too soon, too fast, too soon at the time when Narron was here. And, you know, a lot of people laughed, but he may have been onto something. So the question has to be asked. If the Reds have that many good young players coming up,
pitchers, the only one I was talking
well,
about.
you're talking about, but there are also some great, some pretty good-looking players down there too. Chris Heisey having a great year. Drew Stubbs, another center fielder, having a great year. Todd Frazier, former #1 draft pick, playing outfield, having a very fine year. And you can go on and on, but you know, this is a tough decision, I guess, for Walt Jocketty and the rest of the baseball people, is to, you know, how do you gauge? Do you really turn this into a rebuilding process here and continue to get young and better that way? Or do you trade away some of these guys in hopes that this ball club this year can come together and bring you a championship? How many pieces are you away from competing with the best teams in the National League? And this is a good gauge of where you are when you play the Cardinals. I mean, in this division, they're as good as they get. And of course, the Cardinals along with the Brewers. But if you match up with one, you probably match up with the other.
On the ground out of Pools, and that is out number 2 here in the Reds' 6th inning. You know, oftentimes it always comes back to take it a step further. You know, who are you trading and what are you getting? And what I mean by that is, you know, are you trading to get a guy that is going to be a part of your franchise's future, or are you getting a rent-a-play? We'll talk more about that when we come back. Off to the 7th, all St. Louis in this series finale today. Look at our Chrysler game summary right from the get-go. Not Bronson Arroyo's day. A 2-run home run on the 5th pitch of the game off the bat of Colby Rasmus. And then the hits just kept on coming. Molina knocked in a run in a 2-run 4th inning. A real killer was 3-0 game with 2 outs. Carpenter an RBI single in that 4th. Throwing air brought in 2 more after the Cardinals had loaded the bases. They scored 4 times in that 5th inning and lead 8-0. Arroyo goes 5+ innings, allows all 11 hits, 8 runs, 5 of which were earned runs. He walked 2 unintentionally and fanned a pair. Josh Rennicky delivers to Rick Ankiel, and there's a base hit into center field to begin the St. Louis 7th. Well, you know, Chris, we were starting to talk about the kind of player that if you decided you wanted to go out and make a deal, you know, what kind of player are you talking about? And, you know, the one name that comes up most frequently, not only for Reds fans, but a lot of teams, because really, whether it be the Reds, the Cardinals, the Brewers, the Cubs, heck, throw in Houston and Pittsburgh, but the 4 primary teams that have been in contention all year. This will be a double play. 2 gone here in the 7th inning. Go over to the National League East, same thing. I mean, you're talking about Philly, Florida, Atlanta, the Mets. Out west, the Giants and Colorado. I mean, all of those are contending teams. None of them more than 5 games over 500. Some of them a game or 2 under 500. And so Matt Holliday's name is being thrown around a lot. But if you're a team like the Reds, I mean, do you want to give up 3 or 4 or more of your best prospects in the minor leagues for a guy you're going to have for 2.5 months?
I think the first thing that happens, Tom, is that you find out whether you can sign him to a long-term deal.
Reds can't sign Matt Holliday. I think that's a pretty safe bet. Wouldn't you say that? I mean, come on.
He's a Scott Boras agent.
No, I mean, it doesn't matter who his agent
market.
is.
Well,
Right.
It does make a difference because Boras wants most of his guys in large markets where they can afford larger salaries.
I could represent Matt Holliday, and the Reds aren't going to sign him. I know what you're saying now.
But then the other question you have to ask, is he a Coors Field player? Because his numbers are way down this year after going to Oakland than they were playing in Denver.
All right, but I want to get back to the theory, though. We'll take the Coors Field effect out of it. But I'm talking about the Rena player. We'll get back to that in a minute. On Sunday. baby. Oh, shit. Sunday, August 2nd, see the Reds take on the Rockies on Creation Museum Faith Day, presented by Prasco. Stay around after the game for a special post-game concert by 2009 Dove winning Artist of the Year, Stephen Curtis Chapman. It should be a great day indeed. 381 Reds, or visit reds.com/Faith Day. Joey Votto to lead things off against Chris Carpenter. Reds trailing 8-0 as they bat in the bottom of the 7th. All right, Chris, let's get back to this now. Where we started to talk about. Forget the name, but I'm talking about any player. Okay, and you're exactly right, by the way. No debate about the whole Matt Holliday situation as Votto pulls one in to right a base hit. But I mean, if you're an organization like the Reds, and you know what you are able to do and not able to do from a payroll standpoint down the road, and you have committed to being, for lack of a better description, the Minnesota Twins, where you start developing your own players, you bring them to the major leagues, and you build around your scouting and your drafting and your player development, something the Reds did for so many, many years when they had great teams going back to the late 60s and early 70s, and even the team that won it in 90, primarily made up of drafted players and developed players by the organization. If you put so much into it, doing the same thing the last 3 or 4 years, would you want to go out and now all of a sudden trade for a guy that you know you're only going to have for 2 months?
No. No, the short answer is no, unless you thought that you were one player away and your team needed that one player, like the Milwaukee Brewers did last year with CC Sabathia. They knew they weren't going to get Sabathia signed to a long-term deal. They knew ahead of time he was going to New York or Boston or L.A. or somewhere in one of those big markets. But they got him last year, and they gave away some very good talent to get him, and he got him in the playoffs. Now, if you can make that type of a deal, absolutely, for a franchise that is just starving for a team in the postseason, I think that might be worth it. But I'm not so sure that there's that player out there and that you're just one player away. I mean, if all you needed was a left fielder, fine. But remember that your starting shortstop is down indefinitely. Your third baseman, who has missed most of the season with the exception of the first couple of weeks of the year.
Ball driven into left center field by Jay Bruce, and that'll get the Reds on the board, scoring Votto. And Bruce on his way to third. Here's a throw there, and he's out by 10 feet. Oh, he dropped the ball, apparently. Thurston dropped the ball. Well, the umpire never gave a signal out and then safe. He waited to make sure that Thurston had the ball, so it goes as a triple and an RBI.
Now, the Cardinals do a nice job of the relay right there. Brendan Ryan goes way out there in left field. That was the difference. He wanted to make sure that when Rick Ankiel turned and fired, that he had a guy that he could hit on a fly. And if Thurston can simply hold on to that ball, Bruce is dead to rights, but he doesn't do it. The Reds get a run without an out. At least an out made on that play. Now, the question is, as you evaluate your Reds ball club, are they one player away? Are they two players away? What do they need? I think they need a shortstop. They're going to be able to play every day and have some kind of an offensive presence in the lineup. The other thing that you may want to say is that, is the jury out on Edwin Encarnacion? I mean, you hope that he has a better second half than the first half. Obviously, he's been hurt. He had a broken hand, for goodness sake. So you expect him to come back and be a decent player.
Well, he's unable to get the runner in from third with one out.
Oh, you remember that he signed to a 2-year deal. If you've got two young center fielders coming up in the organization, if they're major league ready, well, you've got a center fielder, Willie Taveras, that you signed to a 2-year deal. So they kind of handicapped themselves with some contractual status of players, and they may just be more than one player away from really being a legitimate contender. unless they pitch and pitch and pitch and pitch. And that's the reason that they're in the race now. And I think, in my estimation, that's the reason that they will stay in the race, because this team can flat out pitch.
Lance Nix batting for Josh Renicky. Two solid innings by Renicky. Allowed only one hit and no runs.
What would you do if you were all jockeying?
I don't know. You know, it gets. It's not avoiding your question. To me, I think that everybody puts a different, barometer or a gauge or a level of importance on the question that you asked. Are you one player away from fill in the blank? I have always believed that if you're going to pull the trigger and jeopardize the future of a franchise, that means you're pulling the trigger and believing you're one player away from playing in the World Series, not from getting into the playoffs. Of course, once you get in, anything can happen. We know that. Looking back on the past, there are things you can learn from, but it should never, ever, ever affect, at the end of the day, what you believe your best game plan is for the future. Just because you haven't done something for 8 years doesn't mean you jeopardize the next 8 years. Reds get a run, but trail at the end of 7, 8-1. Ford dealer and the Ford F-150 2009 Motor Trend Truck of the Year by Aflac. We've got you under our wing. And by your Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Visit mycincinnatihondadealer.com for current offers. Go to the 8th inning. 8 runs, 12 hits for the Cardinals. 1 run, 5 hits for the Reds. The day is over for Chris Carpenter. He goes 7 innings today, allows 5 hits and 1 run. Struck out 5, walked 1 batter. Jared Hoffpower going to bat for Carpenter against a new Reds pitcher, Carlos Fisher.
26-year-old right-hander from Duarte, California. Went to Lewis and Clark University, did Carlos Fisher, and he's had a pretty good run of it. His first ever exposure to the major leagues. He has come up here in 2 quality pitches, a good fastball in the low 90s and a very nice overhand breaking ball.
At Lewis and Clark State College up in Lewistown, Idaho, that is a powerhouse baseball program. A lot of people hear that and they'll go, Lewis and Clark College. Well, do you play baseball out west? And I don't know if they're Division I AA or Division II or Division III, but I know whatever level it is they play in NCAA baseball, they have traditionally been a powerhouse program.
You got to wonder how that can happen, Tom, really, because, I mean, in Lewiston, Idaho, what kind of spring can they possibly have that would be conducive to play baseball?
I wouldn't think
it on a
much.
snowboard. In fact, they're very proud of Carlos Fisher. If you log on to their website, as I just have while we have introduced Carlos Fisher as the pitcher of the inning for the Reds, he adorns the front page of their athletic website.
Really?
They're keeping up with him.
Nice.
Almost on an appearance by appearance basis. They've had 16 national championships. They're NAIA.
NAIA, okay.
And they've had 14 major leaguers go through their program.
16 national championships. Is that what you said?
16 national championships.
Wow.
Including 3 straight from 2006, 7, and 8. And 110 players drafted out of that program.
How about that?
That's impressive.
And that's really impressive. Two and one to Brendan Ryan, batting with 1 on and nobody out here in the top of the 8th inning. Of course, it was in the 8th inning on July the 5th, 1986. There's a fly ball to straightaway center that Taveras will run down, 1 away. July the 5th, 1986, when Chris Welsh, that's right, hit the only career home run at Riverfront Stadium against Philadelphia's Don Carmen. You also on that night pitched a complete game, allowing only 5 hits and 2 runs. And you are still the only pitcher in Major League Baseball history born in the state of Delaware to hit a home run. How about that?
Thank goodness it's a small state, right?
Now, do you think that the state of Delaware website might have a picture of you on there?
I doubt it.
Well, you never know. I mean, at this date it happened. This date.
And it actually happened in Philadelphia, in the Veterans Stadium.
Oh, it was? Okay. So it was in Veterans Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
All right, my bad. Okay.
Which actually is only about 45 minutes from the
Delaware
state line. Yeah,
that's right. All right.
Of course, I moved here when I was 6 years old, so I consider Cincinnati my hometown, although I was born in Delaware.
See, I see now where some of the characteristics, though, that you have of your personality.
Here we go.
That I've always thought kind of had some link to, you know, I don't know what I don't like using that word elite, you know, and to me it's a bogus word, but you know, kind of that northeastern sort of highbrow way about you. I knew there was some kind of tie, and I never knew until right now you actually lived in your very important formative years in the northeastern part of America.
Let me straighten you out on a couple of things. Number one, if you've ever been to Wilmington, Delaware, you'll know it is a blue-collar, working-class town.
I don't doubt that for a second.
And I came from the same kind of family.
I know, but you're exposed, you know, in Delaware. And I'm not saying it's bad.
Oh, no.
I'm not saying that at all.
You know, from what I can remember, my first 5 years, it was great.
Yeah. There's another walk. 2 of them in the inning given up by Fisher.
You know, failed to mention this. We talked about Carlos Fisher from Lewis and Clark State. The only out he's retired in this inning was Brendan Ryan, who also is a former Warrior from Lewis and Clark.
Are they not following him on the website?
Well, not on the front page anyway.
Huh.
Eyebrow, huh? Can you give me a for instance?
I think those of us in the booth, as Dick Pohl is going to come visit the mound, but I think those that have spent a lot of time with you up here in the booth, Mark Wagner, Jesse Jackson, Jim Strickler, Campy on a regular basis, I think they would be able to probably describe it a little bit better than me, but they see it. They know what I'm talking. Everybody in their head, it looked like bobbleheads in here. When I started saying that, everybody sort of nodded there. Yeah, you know what? Come to think of it, I hear you. I've wondered that same thing myself.
Well, now you know the rest of the story.
Well, now I don't have to think about that. I can put that on the shelf and move on. Think about other things.
Maybe what you ought to think about is getting in good shape.
You're right. I need to
maybe take a little batting practice with the wiffle ball in the backyard. You and Luke out there while we're out of town.
Okay.
And get your eye on the ball, because when we come back, we hope to tape some CBTS Tech Talks with you and batting coach Brooke Jacoby.
All right.
You know, we always do a lot of these Tech Talks that are aimed towards the youth, young players,
right,
amateur players, their coaches. You know, if you're coaching 8, 9, 10-year-old, I think the segments we do are wonderful for that. I've learned a lot, and I think a lot of people have too. But what we've left out is that whole segment of player that wants to come down to Reds baseball heaven and how to prepare. And I think that's the angle we're going to take with you, Tom Brenneman. How do you get yourself ready to play Reds fantasy baseball camp next year down in Goodyear, Arizona?
I think that is a great idea. I think you ought to ask my dad to do that first. I think he'd be a much better person to start that with.
You're being evasive.
Take a look at our John Morrell hot dog play of the game. Brandon Phillips. Seems like every day he turns in at least one or more plays worthy of our John Morrell hot dog play of the game. Jason Mott will come on and pitch, replacing Chris Carpenter. St. Louis leading as we are set to begin the bottom half of the 8th inning, 8-1.
Now the converted catcher, second year that he has been at the big league level with the Cardinals, came to spring training hoping to nail down the closer's job, but he's been a middle reliever right now. Not all that bad of a season. Very hard throwing right-hander. He had 12 games with the Cardinals last year and in 11 innings gave up 1 earned run.
I want to get back to your tech talk thing for just 1 minute. I made the suggestion before we had a double play ball to end the inning. I mean, you know me. I will be happy to be a part of tech talk and to partake in whatever it is that you would like me to do to get ready for you know, for other guys to see what they might want to do to get ready. You know the point I'm making here. But what I'm saying is that most of those guys, if I'm not mistaken, Chris, and you're down there every year, you tell me, most of those guys that are down there are probably a little older on average than I am. Is that about right?
You're probably the average age.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be at least 30 years old, and there's no upper limit. We had a player on my team last year who was 69 years old.
All right.
But
I mean, are most of them, would you say, are in their 50s?
Like I say, you're about the average age. I mean, if you want to blend them all out. The median age probably 47.
Okay. All right. Well, all I'm saying, you know, especially if you wanted to really pull in ratings for Tech Talk, as there's one.
How they can do any better than they already do, but go ahead.
Well, but if they could, if that's possible, if the folks from Nielsen could even count that high, don't you think that having my dad on there would be a much better draw than me? And believe me, you're not hurting my feelings by telling me yes, because I believe the answer would be yes to that question.
Well, it'd be very interesting. But, you know, Tom, having been a veteran of Reds baseball heaven for a lot of years, we've seen a lot of, you know, really good human interest stories come out of there. And Jeff Picoro has done a great job over the last couple of years of chronicling those. And we showed them on the scoreboard here at Great American Ballpark. We make them part of our pregame show. But I think some of the best human interest stories that I've seen over the last few years down there have been father-son participants in baseball heaven. And I really think it would be a shame to have one Brenneman in uniform without the other one in there. And I'd love to have both you guys do a little tech talk action and then take that act right on down to Goodyear next February.
It's definitely something to think about.
I know you wore a uniform when you played Knothole. Was it Knothole over there in Anderson Township?
Played for Midland out there.
Your dad played ball at one point in his life.
It's not a bad idea, but I'm talking about tech talk.
Oh, yeah.
Next week or the week after.
Okay.
Or whatever you're going to do.
Yeah, when we're back home after the All-Star break.
Right. Foul out of play, 2-2 on Drew Sutton.
Now, I have to tell you that, you know, even though we pull in huge ratings, we have very limited budget. We do this kind of on the fly. We don't have a lot of, I don't have a lot of money or gifts to pay you or your dad.
I'll be there for you.
Or
no
your
matter
dad.
what.
That wouldn't discourage.
Well, for him, that's a different ballgame.
Yeah. So it's
very different ballgame. Well, what about the Cowboy?
Well, the Cowboy's a legitimate major leaguer. I mean, he was a Rolaids Relief Man of the Year.
What about your longtime partner, 17 years running now? There's one out in the inning. Have you ever asked George to do this?
You know what? Now you're on to something. You know, George played second base for USC Trojans in the years that Tom Seaver was there and Dave Kingman was there. He played with some great players. I'd love to see George come across a bag, turn a double play, and explain to us on Tech Talk how you get it done, while you're sliding in a second trying to take him out. Or maybe you'll be legging it out so that you can't complete the double play, and it'll be Marty roll blocking him at second base.
That would not be pretty. His hair might get messed up, dirty, swing and a miss by Dickerson, 0-1. That would not be good. For him, I'm all for it.
But just think of the popularity.
Like I said, you need me there, I'll be there for it.
Maybe what we ought to do.
And I'll look foolish, and I'm okay with that. I'll go out there and, you know, look bad. But you know what? If I can learn a little something, and maybe if I have the time to come down there and be a part of you know, the fantasy week out in Arizona for this coming spring, that'd be great.
You know what I think we ought to do? Let's leave it up to the fans. If you're willing to do it, and we can talk your dad into doing it, and even if I can't talk him into doing it, maybe if we can have a text poll, really to gauge the fans' interest in seeing your dad and you in some tech talks, and then take that whole thing down to the fantasy camp, and let's let the people decide.
All right, fair enough. But if you need me, you know I'm there.
All right, I know. You're a gamer. Your dad's hair is a consideration.
Well, it better be. I mean, maybe you ought to look into contacting someone, hair care products or something along those lines. You know, maybe you give away something like that and you got him dialed in. Struck him out swinging, and they're 2 away in the inning. See, now take a look. He just got a haircut a couple of days ago. Now, can you see that sliding into second base to break up the the double play?
I don't know if he'll put a batting helmet on. Do you think?
You know, he does wear a hat pretty regularly on the road. You know what I mean? Yeah, he walks around. When you guys play golf, he wears a hat, doesn't he? No, I've seen him in the hotel walking around a lot with a hat on. Sweet hat, too, I might add.
Well, you don't get a tan on your forehead with wearing a hat.
He knows he's taking a subtle beating right now. I can tell just by his reaction to Jeff Brantley. I wish I could hear him right now, because I know that he knows that he is taking a few shots.
Well, what he doesn't know is what's coming up in one of our upcoming text polls. Yep, I'd like to see that head in a helmet.
I got to tell you, though, I mean, you know, if you're talking about hair care, I mean, the cowboy, you know, and I like to talk about borderline mullet. You know, he's another guy who, I mean, can you see him getting that messed up at his age now? I don't.
No, but I mean, at one point he did. I mean, he's like I say, he's an all-star. He's a legitimate player. I mean, the tech talk idea is to bring a guy who hasn't played baseball in a long time back into the fold, and that's what I'm trying to get you and Marty to do.
Okay.
Back in the days of playing in Virginia.
Face it in the left center field. So Joey Votto will bat with a couple on and a couple out here in the bottom of the 8th inning, and the Reds down by 7.
We'll see if we can get Christian Roberts on that to properly word our text poll and see if we can get the fans. And maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe the fans could care less about seeing Marty, you know, trying to learn some batting skills from Brooke Jacoby. I don't know.
Well, I think you have to still include George now, because you're going to ask this text poll on the road. He's going to be with you.
Okay.
So we understand they're going to put that together for tomorrow night's game while you and George are broadcasting from Philadelphia. Here the Reds are down by 7. 2 on, 2 out in the bottom of the 8th inning. And Dennis Reyes will come on from the Cardinal bullpen to face Joey Votto. That's exactly right. Two on, two out for the Reds, batting here in the bottom of the 8th inning, trailing 8-1. Dennis Reyes on to face Joey Votto. And a fastball is up and in for ball 1.
Now the Reds are still down by 7, but a little too close for comfort for Tony La Russa. Dennis Reyes, the left-hander, and boy, he has been around a long time and has etched himself out a very nice major league career.
Joey Votto has 1 hit and 3 at bats today. And excuse me swing, and it's fouled back to the screen. Play there by Molina. We mentioned earlier Yadier Molina will be the starting catcher for the National League All-Star team in his home ballpark. That was officially announced earlier today.
Hard to believe that All-Star appearance by Yadi Molina will be the first by any of the Molina brothers. How about Joey Votto hitting left-handers at a clip of over 400?
Hook to the right side. Pujols will feed Reyes to end the inning. A hit and 2 men left. We go to the 9th. Cardinals lead 8-1. Choice bobblehead, and on Saturday, July 18th, it's your day. Come on down to Great American Ballpark. The first 30,000 fans in attendance receive an Edinson Volquez bobblehead courtesy of Kroger. It's the 3rd in a collectible set of 4 bobbleheads. For tickets, call 381-REDS or go to reds.com. Carlos Fisher still on the mound for the Reds as we're set for the 9th inning. A disappointing day really right from the start. Reds falling behind in the very first inning in the rubber game of this 3-game series, and then after retiring 9 in a row following the 2-run home run by Colby Rasmus, Bronson Arroyo over the next 2 innings allowed 6 runs on 7 base hits to blow this thing wide open. line into center field. A base hit by Chris Duncan. That's the way things begin here in the St. Louis ninth inning. Well, the Reds might be getting blown out of the gym, so to speak, but that young lady, take a look at her. What an absolute little angel, and she's still cheering the Reds on here in the ninth inning. She's got to be about 3, I guess, maybe 2.5. Her brother's got the rally hat on, even Mom. Looks like she's still cheering them on. Well, with those little girls at that age, Chris, I know obviously you've been there 3 times now. And
yeah.
Mine's starting to get a little bit older than that, but oh, is there a more adorable age?
Great time, too.
It really is.
Can't wait for them to wake up.
And they can't wait to wake you up.
You got that right. At that age, they can't differentiate between a work day and a sleep-in day.
No. Encarnacion to second. They will not turn the double play on Ludwig. 1 away here in the ninth. Cubs and the Brewers are finishing up their 3-game series today at Wrigley Field. And the Cubs with a 4-1 lead, that game in the bottom of the 5th inning. Of course, after the game today, the Cardinals are flying to Milwaukee. They have an off day tomorrow. They'll play Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday against the Brewers. And then we mentioned starting Friday, they'll play 4 games in 3 days. A doubleheader over the weekend to make up for a rainout earlier this season against the Cubbies. Like today is a real feather in the cap of the Cardinals. There's ball 4 to Ankiel. I mean, when you consider this 10-day road trip that they are on, running up to the All-Star break, to come to Cincinnati and to win 2 out of 3 is exactly the way you want to kick it off. I mean, let's be honest about it. This was a game on Sunday that, looking back, and again, you know, you hear about if this or but that or whatever it may be. That game on Friday night was just a killer loss for the Reds. A day like today, you know, you're playing for a series sweep.
Yes.
And yeah, you know, you got Chris Carpenter on the mound, and you know that's going to be tough. But if you win that opener, you came back and you won yesterday. Well, even if you don't win today, you still win 2 out of 3 in a series.
And the Reds had some momentum, at least as far as series victories are concerned, when they took 2 in a row for 2 out of 3 in Cleveland, and then 2 out of 3 from the Diamondbacks. They were hoping to do the same thing to finish off this homestand, because it will not be easy in Philadelphia. It never is. And of course, even though the Mets have played very poor baseball recently, they've got a lot of injuries. You know, a week from now, you really don't know how they're going to be playing.
The Philadelphia series is a very interesting series indeed, based on what the 2 teams have done at nearly the midway point this year. That one off the glove of Hannigan, and both runners are going to advance. I mean, make no mistake, the Philadelphia Phillies this year, at least so far, are nowhere near the Philadelphia Phillies team which won the World Series last year. I mean, they're 4 games over 500. You know, as they match up with the Reds strength is clearly pitching. Hitting is clearly the Phillies' strength.
Sure.
Going into play today, they led the league in runs scored.
But it's not only a power hitting lineup, it's a team that can run a lot with Victorino and Rollins. You know, they steal a lot of bases. They're just a complete offensive team. And it really is going to bear down, and then you're going to find out again the answer to the age-old question: does good pitching beat good hitting? And if the Reds can go out there and throw the ball the way they have been, or the way they're capable, you certainly would think so. And that's the way they've won their games so far, usually in low-scoring ball games.
Well, the flip side of you know, the Reds' good pitching and the Phillies' good hitting is the Phillies have had atrocious pitching. I mean, only Washington has a higher team ERA. Here's a ground ball that'll bring in another run. And of course, the Reds have had their struggles offensively this entire year. So something has got to give to determine who's going to win that series, and it's the first of 4 starting tomorrow night. Well, a run here in the Cardinal 9th inning makes it a 9-1 game. Give Molina the RBI. He has 2 of those today. Pulled foul by Thurston. Strike 1. It will be quite a while before the Reds and Cardinals get together again. There's a base hit into center field to make it a 10-1 game. August 10th and 11th and 12th, a 3-game series at Busch Stadium. And then the Cardinals come back here one more time. That'll be a 3-game series, the final week of the regular season. A Tuesday, Wednesday nights, Thursday afternoon, September 29th, 30th, and October 1st. 0-1 to Hoffpower. Ball hammered into deep left field, and Dickerson leaps up against the wall. He can't get it. They're going to hold Thurston at third base on a double, just missing a home run for Jared Hoffpower.
Boy, Chris Dickerson nearly makes a very fine catch right there. He went right up against the wall and leaped high, and that ball looked like it just went over his glove. Banged off the padding, and a double for Hoffpower. Not a good day to be on the mound here if you're in a Reds uniform.
And with that double, that means both of the runs in this inning are earned runs against Carlos Fisher. And you may be wondering why. Well, you had the pass ball, which allowed runners at first and second to go to second and third. The ground out brought in a run, which wouldn't have scored without the pass ball. The single by Thurston made one of the runs an earned run, and that double officially makes it both of them earned runs against Fisher. Many of you are already aware of that nuance as far as scoring is concerned, but it's not just errors necessarily that can determine runs that are earned or unearned. Because by definition, I guess a pass ball is not technically an error.
No, you're correct. It's a separate category, but it does affect earned runs. I'm glad you picked that up. The Pitchers Union is very proud of you for knowing that little small rule. Two and one account on Brendan Ryan.
And there's a tapper back to Fisher. And he will throw in time to end the inning. Cardinals tack on 2 more and lead 10-1. Bottom of the 9th coming up. iPhone and iPod Touch, get real-time play-by-play highlights. Visit Reds.com on your iPhone or iPod Touch to purchase, and don't miss any Reds baseball this year. As you know, each and every weeknight right here on Fox Sports Ohio, it's the best sports show, period. And it's presented every night by 1-800-SAFE-AUTO. Kyle McClellan now on to pitch for the Cardinals, bottom of the 9th inning, and the Cardinals with a 9-run lead. They've outscored them 10-1, out hit the Reds 15-6. Brandon Phillips is behind 0-2. Mott 2/3 of an inning, a hit and a walk, along with a strikeout, no runs, and Dennis Reyes 1/3 of an inning, retired Joey Votto, ending the 8th. Struck him out on a high fastball, 1 away. Swung on and fouled off out of play to the third base side. Strike 1 to Jay Bruce. Two and 1 to Bruce, who is 1 for 3 in a game. Knocked in a run with a triple to left center field in the 7th inning. High fly ball into left center field, playable for Ankiel, and the Reds are down to their final out. 1 to Edwin Encarnacion. 0 for 3 today. Has grounded to short, struck out, and popped to center with a runner at third and 1 out in the 7th. 1-1. Well, a big road trip upcoming for the Reds. Well, against a couple of teams that, well, certainly one of them is very much a contending team leading the National League East, talking about the Phillies. Now, the Mets have just been ravaged with injuries. I mean, we believe the Reds have been hurt, and they have. No one has been hurt in the National League more than the New York Mets. They went into play today 2 games under 500. They're only 3 out of first. Swung on and fouled off out of play. And then when the Reds get back from the All-Star break, right after, there you see the games leading up to the break and the records of the teams and where they are in the standings. The All-Star game on Fox, the 14th of the month. But then after that, I mean, the Reds get right after it. 4 at home against Milwaukee. Go play the best team in the league for 3 in the Dodgers. On the same road trip, they play the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley Field. In fact, after the break, the Reds will play the Cardinals and the Cubs and the Brewers, a total of 13 games. But for the time being, not the way you wanted this homestand to come to an end. The Reds shellacked right from the beginning. Final count today of 10-1. Carpenter the winner, Arroyo the loser, and the Cardinals